The massive, transparent dome of Centauri Station's Grand Council chamber offered a breathtaking view of the nebula beyond its swirling purples and blues, casting an ethereal glow over the 12 ancient species seated around the circular table. Commander Elena Reyes stood at attention, her Terran Federation uniform crisp and impeccable, betraying none of the frustration that had been building inside her for months. 75 years. 75 years of humanity's participation in the Galaxy Council as a developing species, and still no sign of advancement to full voting rights. I move to table the discussion on Terran voting privileges until the next cycle, announced Zeltorx, the Centaurian Council chairman. His 8-fingered hands folded calmly before him. His opalescent skin reflected the chamber's lights as he spoke through the universal translator. The Council requires more time to evaluate Earth's readiness for full membership. Elena felt her jaw tighten, but maintained her diplomatic composure. Beside her, Marcus Lynn, her technical advisor, exchanged a brief glance with her. They had anticipated this delay, the 6th consecutive one, but hearing it stated so casually still stung. Chairman Torx. Elena said, her voice clear and measured. With all due respect, the Terran Federation has met every criterion established for full membership. Our technological contributions alone have accelerated interstellar communication by 43% in the last decade. Ambassador Thorlak, of the Agraxian hegemony, a towering insectoid with gleaming obsidian eyes, clicked his mandibles in what the translator rendered as dismissive laughter. Contributions built upon foundations provided by senior council members. Let us not forget that Earth was still burning fossil fuels when we discovered your planet. That was over 2 centuries ago, Ambassador Elena countered. Humanity has since developed independent quantum stabilization technology that even your scientists have adopted. Murmurs rippled around the chamber. Several ambassadors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The Agraxians had indeed integrated Terran quantum tech into their fleet, as had most council species, though few acknowledged this publicly. The motion stands, Chairman Torx declared, ignoring Elena's point. The vote on Terran membership status will be delayed until the next council cycle. Meeting adjourned. As the chamber began to empty, Ambassador Niara of the Solarian Collective approached Elena. Unlike most council species, the photosynthetic Solarians had always maintained cordial relations with Earth. Commander Reyes. Niara's melodic voice was low. This delay is unfortunate. Several of us argued against it in private session. Yet none spoke up during the actual vote, Elena observed. Niara's leaf-like appendages shimmered in embarrassment. Power structures centuries old do not change easily, Commander. Patience has its limits, Elena finished. She nodded respectfully to Niara before turning to leave. Good day, Ambassador. Once aboard their shuttle, Marcus finally broke his professional silence. They're never going to grant us full status, are they? Not when they can exploit our innovations while keeping us as second-class citizens. Elena didn't immediately respond. Instead, she activated the shuttle's security protocols, creating an impenetrable bubble of privacy around them. When she finally spoke, her voice was different, harder, resolute. Authorization Reyes Elena, Commander, Federation ID 7729 Alpha. Activate Protocol Exodus. Marcus's eyes widened. Commander, are we authorized to? President Patel signed the executive order last week after the preliminary reports from this meeting. The Federation Council unanimously approved it. Elena's gaze was steel. It's time humanity stopped asking for a seat at the table and built our own. Marcus swallowed hard, then nodded. His fingers danced across his secure terminal, confirming the authorization. Protocol Exodus initiated. All Terran assets are receiving the command now. As their shuttle departed from Centauri Station, neither of them looked back at the gleaming diplomatic hub that had symbolized humanity's greatest aspiration for 3/4 of a century. That chapter was ending. A new one was about to begin. Across the galaxy, on every station, outpost, and vessel where human technology had been integrated, A silent command rippled through quantum networks. In engineering rooms, medical bays, and communication centers, human technicians discreetly initiated pre-programmed sequences before making their way to designated extraction points. On the massive trading hub of Proxima Station, Dr. Sophia Chen Watanabe, lead physician at the Interspecies Medical Center, received the coded alert on her personal device. Without hesitation, she entered a sequence into the main medical server, locking herself in her office afterward. Within minutes, the hospital's advanced diagnostic systems, all based on human-developed quantum imaging technology, began a systematic shutdown. Across the station, similar scenarios unfolded. Transportation systems slowed, communication arrays faltered, and environmental stabilizers fluctuated. Confusion spread among the non-human inhabitants, as systems they had relied upon for decades suddenly became unreliable or entirely non-functional. Aboard the Terran diplomatic vessel Horizon, Captain James Rodriguez watched the reports flowing in from across Council space. All Terran personnel from Proxima Station accounted for Captain, his first officer, reported. Extraction complete. Medical technology withdrawal at 97%. And the Council's response, Rodriguez asked. Chaotic, sir. They've been trying to hail Commander Reyes for the past hour. Ambassador Thorlak is demanding an emergency session. Rodriguez allowed himself a small, grim smile. I imagine he is. Similar scenes played out across hundreds of locations throughout Council space. Human technology, quietly essential to countless systems, was being systematically removed or deactivated, leaving bewildered alien technicians struggling to maintain basic functions. On Earth, President Amina Patel stood in the Federation Command Center, beneath the Himalayas, watching the global display as thousands of signal lights changed from blue to green, indicating successful extraction of personnel and technology. 79% complete, Madam President, reported Admiral Hiroshi Tanaka. Minimal resistance encountered. Most stations are too disorganized to mount an effective response. President Patel nodded. And our defensive posture? The Sol system defense grid is at full capacity. All jump points are being monitored. The lunar shipyards have accelerated production of the new null grid projectors. And Nayara, any word? Admiral Tanaka checked his display. The Solarian ambassador has requested secure communication. Her message indicates 7 species are considering our proposal. 7, Patel considered this. More than we expected at this stage. Desperation makes for strange alliances, Madam President. Not desperation, Admiral. Opportunity. Patel studied the shifting patterns on the global display. For too long, the Council has maintained a facade of unity, while the elder species manipulated the newer ones. We're not just withdrawing our technology, we're offering an alternative vision of galactic cooperation. As they spoke, the final extraction ships were entering Earth's atmosphere, carrying thousands of human diplomats, technicians, and their families from Council space. Protocol Exodus, planned in absolute secrecy for over a decade, was proceeding exactly as designed. In the Centauri Council chamber, chaos reigned. The emergency session called by Ambassador Thorlak had devolved into accusation and panic as the full scale of Earth's withdrawal became apparent. This is nothing short of sabotage. Thorlak's translator struggled to keep his tone civil. The humans have deliberately crippled critical infrastructure across Council space. They have removed their own technology, countered Nyara calmly. Technology that they shared in good faith, expecting eventual recognition as equals. Recognition is earned through centuries of contribution, not mere decades, interjected Ambassador Zirian of the Etheri Concordat, another elder species. This tantrum only proves Earth's immaturity. Chairman Torx attempted to restore order, but the chamber erupted again when a junior aide rushed in with fresh news. Forgive the interruption, the aide's voice quavered, but we've lost contact with the Agraxian battle fleet near the Orion sector. All vessels are reporting complete systems failure. Ambassador Thorlak froze his mandibles, clicking rapidly in distress. What battle fleet? Chairman Torx demanded, turning to Thorlak. The council authorized no military action. The chamber fell silent as all eyes turned to the Agraxian ambassador. In that moment of uncomfortable truth, the careful political balance of the council began to crack. Earth's sudden technological withdrawal hadn't just inconvenienced the elder species, it had exposed their covert operations and power plays. Ambassador Nyara stood. "I believe," she said into the silence, "that several of us would benefit from direct communication with the Terran Federation at this juncture, perhaps without the constraints of council protocols." One by one, 7 ambassadors rose to join her. Chairman Torx watched in disbelief as nearly a third of the council prepared to depart. "This session is not concluded," he protested. "Perhaps not," Nyara replied, "but I believe an era has ended nonetheless." As the dissident ambassadors filed out, Thorlak turned to the chairman, his voice low and threatening. "The humans cannot be allowed to disrupt the established order. The Agraxian hegemony will not stand for this humiliation." Chairman Torx regarded his longtime ally with newfound wariness. "And what exactly was your fleet doing in the Orion sector, Ambassador?" But Thorlak had already turned away, his security detail closing ranks around him as he stormed from the chamber. 3 days after Protocol Exodus began, Elena Reyes sat in the secure communication center aboard the Horizon, now positioned just beyond lunar orbit. The ship's view screen showed the magnificent blue sphere of Earth, seemingly peaceful, despite the diplomatic storm raging across the galaxy. "Ambassador Nyara's delegation will arrive within the hour," Marcus reported. "Their vessel has cleared the outer defense perimeter." Elena nodded, reviewing the security protocols for the 20th time. "And the others?" "The Tellurian and Captain representatives are 12 hours behind. The remaining allies are still extracting their assets from Council space." Marcus hesitated. "There's another development. The Agraxian hegemony has mobilized a significant force toward the Orion Gateway." "As expected," Elena said grimly. "They're hoping to catch us flat-footed while we're still reorganizing. Status of Orion Defense Station. Null grid generators online and tested. Admiral Khatri reports all systems ready." Elena leaned back, allowing herself a moment of reflection. For years, humanity had played the role of the grateful junior partner, the promising student eager to learn from the elder species. All while developing technologies in secret that would guarantee independence when the moment came. The null grid was the pinnacle of those efforts, a field that selectively disabled any non-Terran technology while leaving human systems untouched. "Commander," interrupted Lieutenant Sofia Rodriguez, communications officer. "Incoming transmission from President Patel." The view screen shifted to show the Federation President, her expression solemn. "Commander Reyes, the Agraxian fleet has crossed the Orion threshold. Admiral Khatri is awaiting your authorization to activate the null grid." Elena took a deep breath. This would be the true test not just of the technology, but of humanity's resolve. "Authorization granted, Madam President. Exodus Protocol, Stage 3. The transmission ended, and Elena turned to Marcus. "Let's hope we never need to use this weapon again after today." "Is it a weapon?" he asked quietly. "Or a shield?" "Today, both." Her eyes returned to the view screen, now showing a tactical display of the Orion sector. And perhaps the foundation of a new order. In the Orion sector, the Agraxian battle fleet approached the seemingly vulnerable human outpost. 30 warships representing the technological pinnacle of one of the Council's eldest species moved in precise formation toward their target. Admiral Priya Khatri stood on the command deck of Orion Defense Station, watching the approaching vessels with apparent calm. "They're hailing us, Admiral," reported her communications officer. "Ambassador Thorlak demands our immediate surrender and the reversal of all technological withdrawals." Khatri's expression didn't change. "No response. Maintain null grid charging sequence." "Agraxian vessels are launching fighter squadrons," the tactical officer announced. "Weapon systems activating. They're targeting our communication array first." "As expected," Khatri nodded. "They want to isolate us before the main assault. Null grid status, 97% charged, Admiral. 30 seconds to full capacity. On the view screen, hundreds of Agraxian fighters streaked toward the station, their weapon systems glowing as they prepared to fire. Null grid at full charge, Admiral. Khatri allowed herself a small smile. Activate. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, across the vast expanse of space, every Agraxian vessel simultaneously lost power. Fighters tumbled in inertial drift, their engines dead. The massive battleships, moments ago pulsing with energy, became dark, lifeless hulks. Null grid deployed successfully. The tactical officer reported, a note of awe in his voice. All non-Terran systems within range have been neutralized. Launch rescue shuttles, Khatri ordered. I want those fighter pilots retrieved before their life support fails, and prepare a communication channel to the Agraxian flagship. When the channel opened, Admiral Khatri faced a visibly shaken Agraxian commander. This is Admiral Priya Khatri of the Terran Federation. Your vessels have been temporarily disabled. We are dispatching teams to ensure the safety of your crew, particularly your fighter pilots. Once all personnel are secure, we will provide you with sufficient power to return to your territory. The Agraxian commander, struggling in the emergency lighting of his bridge, hissed something the translator couldn't process. We have no desire for conflict, Khatri continued. But the Terran Federation will defend itself. Your fleet will be escorted to the Orion threshold, and then you will depart. This sector is now under Federation protection. As the transmission ended, Khatri turned to her second-in-command. Deploy the surveillance drones. I want images of this transmitted to every Council species. They need to understand that the balance of power has shifted. Within hours, recordings of the Orion incident, as it came to be called, spread across every communication channel in Council space. The sight of the mighty Agraxian fleet, rendered helpless without a single shot fired, sent shockwaves through the galactic community. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer seeking permission to join the galactic community. As equals, they were demanding it. 1 month after Protocol Exodus began, the former Council chamber on Luna Base hosted a very different gathering. Representatives from 9 species Earth and 8 former Council members sat not in hierarchical arrangement, but in a simple circle, emphasizing their equal status. Elena Reyes, now appointed as Earth's official diplomatic lead, opened the session. Welcome to the first conference of the Independent Stellar Alliance. Each of us has chosen to step away from a system that perpetuated inequality and stagnation. Today, we begin building something better. Ambassador Nayara nodded in agreement. The Solarian Collective joins Earth in this vision. For too long, the elder species have claimed that stability required hierarchy. The remarkable achievement of Protocol Exodus has demonstrated otherwise. The Agraxian response was predictable, added Ambassador Talara of the Tellurian Republic. They have always used military might to maintain their position. That humanity neutralized their fleet without casualties speaks to both your technological superiority and your ethical restraint. Marcus Lin, now serving as Federation Technology Liaison, activated the chamber's holographic display, showing a 3-dimensional representation of known space. The Independent Stellar Alliance currently represents about 28% of inhabited systems, he explained. But our combined technological capabilities significantly exceed that proportion. More importantly, our territories form a connected region with strategic control of 7 major trade routes. And the Council's response? Asked Krem Voss, the Captain Trade Minister. Fracturing, Elena replied. According to our intelligence, at least 4 more species are considering joining our alliance. The Agraxians and Centaurians are attempting to maintain Council unity through a combination of threats and concessions, but their position weakens daily. President Patel, who had traveled from Earth for this historic occasion, addressed the gathering next. What we establish here will determine galactic relations for generations to come. We must be careful not to recreate the very power imbalances we sought to escape. I propose our first act should be to establish a Charter of Rights, applicable to all sentient beings, regardless of species' technological development or historical standing. The discussion that followed was vigorous, but productive. Unlike the formal stilted protocols of the Council, representatives freely exchanged ideas, challenged assumptions, and worked toward genuine consensus. By the session's end, the framework for the Independent Stellar Alliance Charter had been established with working groups assigned to develop specific sections. As the representatives departed, Elena found herself standing with Niara at the observation dome, gazing at the Earth, rising over the lunar landscape. "Your people took an enormous risk," Niara observed. "Had the null grid failed, the Agraxian response would have been severe." "We've spent decades being underestimated," Elena replied. "It provided excellent cover for our preparations." Many on the Council believed Earth was focused primarily on healthcare and communication technology. "Your quantum stabilizers, gravity manipulators impressive, but not threatening. Few suspected you were developing something like the null grid." Elena smiled. "That was deliberate. We shared technologies that improved lives while keeping defensive innovations private. It's easier to be dismissed as naive idealists when you're helping extend lifespans across the galaxy." A sophisticated strategy. Niara's leaves shimmered with what Elena had come to recognize as admiration. "Though I wonder, will the Alliance truly be different? Power, once obtained, is rarely surrendered voluntarily." "That's why we need perspectives like yours, Ambassador. Earth has no desire to simply replace the Council with another hegemony. The Charter explicitly limits the influence any single species can wield." "Words on quantum paper," Niara noted. "Implementation will be the true test." "Agreed. Which is why the technology exchange protocols are being designed with multiple redundancies and oversight mechanisms. No member of the Alliance should become dependent on another's technology. That was the Council's fundamental flaw." As they spoke, Marcus approached with an update. "Commander, we're receiving reports that the Centaurian Central Bank has suspended operations. The currency markets are in free fall." "Not unexpected," Elena sighed. "The Council's economic system was predicated on technological dependencies we disrupted. Ambassador Niara, your economic advisor's input would be valuable in the Stabilization Committee." "Of course. The Solarian exchange system might offer a transitional model." Niara turned to leave, then paused. "Commander Reyes, when you activated Protocol Exodus, did you anticipate these far-reaching consequences?" Elena gazed out at the stars beyond Earth. "We prepared for multiple scenarios, Ambassador. But in truth, we're now in uncharted territory, all of us together." 6 months into what historians would later call the Great Reconfiguration, Elena stood on the bridge of the Aurora, Earth's newest diplomatic vessel, as it approached the former Council hub at Centauri Station. The once bustling center of galactic politics now operated at reduced capacity, its grand chambers largely empty. "Centauri Control has granted us docking permission," reported Captain Liam Kennedy. "They're requesting confirmation of our diplomatic credentials." "Transmit the Alliance protocols," Elena instructed. "Remind them we're here by invitation of Chairman Torx." The meeting that followed in the chairman's private chamber was tense, but civil. Zell Torx, once the embodiment of Council authority, appeared, diminished, his opalescent skin dulled by stress. "Commander Reyes," he acknowledged her with minimal courtesy. "The Council appreciates your willingness to discuss normalization of relations." "Chairman Torx," Elena replied, equally formal. "The Independent Stellar Alliance is committed to peaceful coexistence. However, normalization requires acknowledgement of new realities." Torx's aide, a younger Centaurian, placed a data crystal on the table between them. "Our proposal includes mutual defense agreements, technology exchange protocols, and trade normalization." Marcus, who had accompanied Elena, scanned the crystal's contents on his secure device. His slight headshake told Elena everything she needed to know. "Chairman," Elena said calmly, "this proposal essentially requests that the Alliance subject itself to Council oversight, the very system we departed." "Stability requires coordination," Torx insisted. The economic disruption of recent months demonstrates the dangers of fragmentation. The disruption, Elena countered, resulted from dependencies intentionally created to maintain control. The alliance is developing new systems based on mutual benefit rather than enforced hierarchy. Idealistic rhetoric, Torx dismissed. Meanwhile, trade routes are disrupted, currency values fluctuate wildly, and technological progress has stalled. Progress hasn't stalled, Chairman. It's simply occurring outside Council control for the first time in centuries. Elena placed her own data crystal on the table. Our counterproposal, the Council and Alliance as equal entities, with a joint mediation framework for cross-jurisdiction issues. Torx didn't touch the crystal. The Agraxians will never accept this. The Agraxian hegemony's influence diminishes daily, Elena noted. 3 more of their former client species have petitioned to join the Alliance this month alone. You're dismantling a system that maintained peace for millennia. A peace that benefited some at the expense of others. Elena rose. The Alliance isn't seeking to destroy the Council, Chairman. We're offering an alternative. Species can choose which model better serves their interests. As they departed the station, Marcus reviewed the diplomatic exchanges from other teams. Similar responses across the board, he reported. The elder species want to maintain the old hierarchy, just with some cosmetic concessions. And the younger council members, increasingly receptive to alliance overtures. The Danubian Confederation has already begun unofficial technology exchange with alliance members. Elena nodded thoughtfully. We need to accelerate the implementation of the Charter provisions on technological sovereignty. Every species should control its own essential systems with voluntary interdependence, rather than forced dependency. That's a massive undertaking, Marcus observed. Some alliance members don't have the infrastructure to develop certain technologies independently. Then we help them build that infrastructure. It's the difference between giving someone food and teaching them to grow their own. Elena's gaze drifted to the viewport, where Centauri Station was receding into the distance. The Council maintained power by ensuring technological dependency. We break that cycle by ensuring technological self-determination. Over the following months, this philosophy guided the Alliance's expansion. Human scientists and engineers worked alongside their alien counterparts, not imposing solutions, but collaborating to develop technologies suited to each species' unique needs and environments. The approach was slower than simply providing finished technology, but created genuine technological sovereignty. On Earth, President Patel addressed the Federation Assembly, providing an update on the Alliance's progress. The Independent Stellar Alliance now encompasses 23 species across 34% of inhabited space. More significantly, our economic integration protocols have stabilized trade across member territories, while the Technology Sovereignty Initiative has begun reducing critical dependencies. And the Council, asked Assembly Representative Chibueze. Diminished but not defeated, Patel acknowledged. The elder species retain significant influence, particularly in the regions beyond Alliance reach. However, their military posturing has decreased since the Orion incident, demonstrated the effectiveness of our defensive capabilities. Are we prepared for sustained division? Another representative inquired. A galaxy split between Alliance and Council spheres. We hope for eventual reconciliation on terms of genuine equality, Patel replied. But yes, the Federation and our Alliance partners are prepared for long-term separation if necessary. Our combined resources distributed fairly under Charter provisions ensure our collective prosperity. The debate continued, touching on everything from military readiness to cultural exchange programs. Throughout, President Patel emphasized that the Alliance's strength lay not in centralized control, but in distributed resilience, each member species developing its own capabilities while contributing to the collective good. Meanwhile, across Alliance space, the practical implementation of these ideals progressed. On the jointly administered planet of New Haven, human and Tellurian scientists worked to adapt Earth's agricultural techniques to alien biochemistry, creating food production systems that would free Tellurian colonies from dependence on imports. In the Solarian homeworld's orbit, a massive engineering project combined human quantum stabilization with Solarian photosynthetic energy, harvesting, creating sustainable power generation that would eventually be replicated across Alliance territories. And in deep space, far from public announcement, Alliance Defense Forces conducted joint exercises, testing the integration of diverse technologies and tactics. The null grid remained humanity's most powerful tool, but other species contributed their own defensive innovations, creating layered security that no single attack could penetrate. 1 year after Protocol Exodus began, Luna Base hosted the first full assembly of the Independent Stellar Alliance. Representatives from 28 species, more than half the known sentient civilizations in the galaxy, gathered in the newly constructed Grand Chamber. The contrast with the old council couldn't have been more striking. Instead of rigid hierarchical seating, representatives were arranged in collaborative clusters. Translation systems ensured perfect communication while preserving the unique cadences and cultural nuances of each language. Most notably, the chamber's design incorporated architectural elements from every member species, creating a space that belonged to all and privileged none. Elena Reyes, now serving as Alliance Coordination Director, observed the gathering with quiet satisfaction. The path from frustrated diplomat to revolutionary leader had been neither planned nor easy, but standing in this chamber, seeing former council members and newly recognized species interacting as equals, validated every difficult decision. President Patel officially opened the session, her voice carrying clearly through the perfect acoustics. Distinguished representatives, 1 year ago, Earth made a choice that changed the course of galactic history. We chose to withdraw from a system that perpetuated inequality and to propose a new vision of cooperation. Today, that vision takes its most concrete form yet as we formally adopt the Charter of the Independent Stellar Alliance. The massive holographic display at the Chamber's center activated, showing the Charter document in multiple languages simultaneously. Each representative could read the text in their native script, another small but significant departure from Council protocol, which had privileged ancient languages over newer ones. The Charter establishes 3 fundamental principles, Patel continued. Equal standing for all sentient species regardless of technological development or historical presence. Technological sovereignty, ensuring each member controls its own essential systems. And voluntary interdependence, creating resilience through cooperation rather than dependency. Ambassador Nyara, now serving as Ethical Oversight Coordinator, addressed the Assembly next. The Charter also establishes the Alliance Court of Rights, where any sentient being, member species or not, may seek redress for violations of basic dignities. This reflects our commitment to universal principles that transcend political boundaries. One by one, representatives spoke, offering perspectives from their unique cultural viewpoints. Some emphasized economic benefits, others security advantages, still others the cultural renaissance already blossoming from increased interchange among diverse civilizations. Marcus Lynn, heading the Technology Exchange Commission, presented the progress of the Sovereignty Initiative. Within just 1 year, 17 member species have achieved independence in critical infrastructure systems. Another 6 are on track to reach this milestone within 6 months. This represents not just technical achievement, but philosophical transformation from hierarchy to partnership. As the session concluded, President Patel invited a special guest to address the Assembly. To Elena's surprise, Chairman Torx of the Reduced Council entered the chamber. His once imposing presence seemed almost frail now, but he carried himself with dignity. Distinguished representatives, he began, I come neither as adversary nor supplicant, but as witness to profound change. For millennia, the Council maintained what we called stability, a system that in truth preserved the privileges of the first to achieve interstellar travel. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. No one had expected such candor from the Centaurian leader. The emergence of the Alliance has forced a painful but necessary reevaluation. Yesterday, the Remnant Council voted to dissolve its hierarchical structure. We now seek a new beginning, not merger with the Alliance, as our differences remain significant but formal recognition and cooperation between equal entities. President Patel stepped forward, extending a hand in the human gesture of agreement that had been adopted across Alliance protocol. The Alliance welcomes this development, Chairman Torx. Diversity of governance freely chosen strengthens us all. As the assembly broke into discussion, Group's Elena found herself approached by Ambassador Thorlak of the Agraxians, perhaps the last person she expected to see at this gathering. Commander Reyes, the translator, rendered his complex mandible clicks. Or should I say Director Reyes now? Ambassador Thorlak, I admit your presence here is unexpected. Necessity compels adaptation. His obsidian eyes revealed nothing. The hegemony recognizes changing realities. I recall you once dismissed Earth as too immature for meaningful contribution. An error of judgment, Thorlak acknowledged. Though I maintain that your methods were unnecessarily dramatic. Elena allowed herself a small smile. Sometimes clarity requires drama, Ambassador. I understand the Agraxian fleet has been fully restored since the Orion incident. Restored, but transformed. Your null grid demonstration prompted significant revision of our technological approach. Thorlak's mandibles clicked in what might have been reluctant admiration. The hegemony would be interested in technical dialogue regarding quantum stabilization principles. The Alliance welcomes such dialogue, Ambassador. Our Technology Exchange Commission would be pleased to arrange initial discussions. As Thorlak moved away, Marcus joined Elena. The Agraxians seeking technology exchange, I never thought I'd see the day. Self-interest is a powerful motivator, Elena observed. They've realized isolation means stagnation. Even proud empires adapt when necessary. Together, they move through the chamber, engaging briefly with various representatives. The atmosphere was energetic, optimistic, a stark contrast to the stifling formality of council sessions. Commander Reyes called a voice from behind them. They turned to find Admiral Khatri, now head of Alliance Defense Coordination. A moment, if you please. The Admiral led them to a private alcove and activated security protocols. We've detected unusual activity near the galactic rim. Long-range sensors show energy signatures unlike any known species. Elena felt a chill. First contact protocols. Initiated, but preliminary analysis suggests advanced technology, possibly beyond even Alliance capabilities. Marcus studied the data on his secure device. If these readings are accurate, we're looking at a civilization that might make the Council-Alliance division seem like a family squabble. Elena considered the implications. After a year of reshaping known space, humanity and its allies might now face something truly unknown. Inform President Patel and the Security Council, she decided. But limit distribution, we need verification before making this public. And if verified, Khatri asked, then we present it to both Alliance and former Council leadership simultaneously. Elena's expression was resolute. Whatever comes from beyond known space, we face it together as equals. As the Assembly continued its work, formalizing the structures that would govern cooperative efforts across dozens of worlds, Elena returned to the main chamber with renewed purpose. The Alliance had been born from humanity's refusal to accept second-class status, but its greater value might lie in preparing all sentient species for challenges yet unknown. President Patel concluded the historic session with words that would be engraved on monuments across Alliance worlds. Today marks not an ending, but a beginning. We have dismantled barriers to create connection, challenged hierarchy to establish equality, and withdrawn independence to build interdependence. Whatever the future holds, whatever new wonders or challenges await beyond the stars, we know we face them not as competing species, but as a community of equals, each unique, all essential. As the assembly dispersed, Elena stood at the chamber's observation dome, gazing at Earth rising over the lunar landscape. Marcus joined her in contemplative silence. When you activated Protocol Exodus, he finally said, "Did you imagine we'd end up here?" Elena smiled. "Not in detail. But I knew we had to break the old pattern to create something new." She gestured toward the departing representatives, dozens of species once divided by council hierarchy, now engaged in animated conversation as peers. This was worth the risk. "And the new contact if confirmed? Then we face the unknown together." Elena's expression grew thoughtful. "Perhaps that's the ultimate test of our alliance, not how we separate from the past, but how we unite to meet the future." Beyond the dome, stars glittered against the blackness of space. Countless worlds, known and unknown. Humanity had finally claimed its rightful place among them, not through conquest or submission, but by offering a vision compelling enough to transform the galaxy. Protocol Exodus had begun as withdrawal. It had culminated in connection. And now, 1 year later, Elena Reyes watched representatives of 28 wildly different species depart Luna Base not as competitors, but as partners, each returning to their worlds with renewed purpose and shared vision. Whatever lay beyond the galactic rim, whatever new chapter was about to begin, they would write it together.